Hey everyone, Angela here. Life can be challenging. Trust me, I get it. However, I have learned we can either view the opposition or value the opportunity. Ponder on the problem or praise the potential. Focus on the situation or find the solution. Despite the current circumstances you're going through, I invite you to join me today as we embark on a grand adventure to discover the reasons why it's a good time to be you.
Here's the encourager herself, making every day a good day, Angeline Henderson.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for being with us today. We are so glad you're here. Turn to your neighbor and say, it's a good time to be you. Yes, and it is. Again, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. We are going to have an amazing interview with Dr. Cerissa Hugie. This is a wonderful lady, a very powerful lady, who has spent her life helping the mental health community. And God has just inspired so many beautiful strategies inside of her heart that she even created her own mental health business called Mind Space. She helps people get from where they are in the torments of their mind and in their very soul and their very being to tap into their true identity and of who God has designed them to be, giving them permission to walk through the pain and to walk through those moments of doubt and confusion and disbelief. And so we are so blessed and honored to have her with us today and just to hear about her personal journey and where she's at on it. So don't go away. We're going to be right back after this. Welcome back, everyone. We are so glad you're here. Now, let's give a warm welcome to our friend, Dr. Cerissa Hugie. Dr. Hugie, come on out. It's a good time to be you. We welcome you. So glad you're with us today. Oh, come on in. Oh, thank you. Come and have a seat with us. That is wonderful. I am so honored that you're with us today. I know that you're a very busy lady. You've got a lot going on. You wear many different hats, but they're all you.
Yes.
And but thank you so much for coming and sharing with us and imparting into us this very important information of a very vital topic, and that's mental health.
Yes.
And so we are just so honored that you're here. Now, it is true that you grew up here in the Low Country in a small town of Hollywood. Anybody familiar with Hollywood?
Hollywood.
I love it. So please tell us a little bit about Hollywood and about growing up there, maybe some memories that you have from your childhood.
So Hollywood is actually a very rural part of Charleston County,
Yes.
Primarily African American, low income, and I actually grew up in an even smaller sect of
Really?
Hollywood called Petersfield.
Okay.
And so Petersfield to this day still has dirt roads.
Wow.
The majority of the people there are family.
Yeah.
A very rich heritage of the Geechee Gullah culture.
Yes.
Just is so much beautiful heritage in the community there.
Yes.
So that's where I grew up.
Amazing. Amazing. So, you know, when most people grow up, they always envision of leaving home, usually. A lot of times it doesn't matter, you know, I guess where you live or whatever. Everybody's got this vision. Was that how you felt?
You know, honestly, I don't know that at that time I had any aspirations. There were so many challenging things going on. You know, grew up in poverty. My mom was a community activist. She was the first person in her family to graduate from high school and go to college. But still, it was difficult for us. She was a single mom with 4 children. We didn't have a whole lot of money and resources. We moved a lot. And so during that time, for me, the only thing that I really had that I buried myself into was education.
Awesome.
That was the thing that I knew I was good at.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, what were some of your favorite subjects in school?
Oh, all of them, but primarily English, because actually that's what I thought I was going to major in.
Really?
When I went to college. I wanted to be a writer for like 2.5 seconds.
For 2.5 seconds? Well, then what changed your mind?
When I got to my junior year of high school, I took a psychology class taught by one of the male coaches.
Yes.
And the course was actually for college credit at USC.
Okay.
And I just was so fascinated with the information, the mind and human behavior. And so that's what led me to major in psychology when I went to college. So it changed the whole trajectory.
So when you were studying your psychology in school, were there things that were resonating with you and like making sense, maybe with some things that you experienced yourself growing up, or maybe what you witnessed other friends or family dealing with?
Yes, it's hard to say because that's been so many years ago now, but for whatever reason, it just really struck me as something that I was very interested in. Like, oh my gosh, this is so fascinating to understand people and why they do the things that they do. And I just, you know, at that point I felt like psychology is it. And I wasn't even sure what I was going to do with it. And so when you get to the other parts of my story, you'll find that interesting as well.
Amazing. Well, you know, the human mind, it is amazing.
Yes.
And the psyche of a person, it is just, God is so intricate when He designed us. And to know that we are created in His image, and I really believe that even a portion of Himself is in that part of us.
Yes.
And to be able to understand it and be able to study it, and not just so that, you know, we can say, okay, I know this, but we can know ourselves. And, you know, we are supposed to know ourselves. We're supposed to know who we are, because the enemy of your soul knows you. And so it's important that you know yourself and know what makes you tick and what makes you think and know how you work, so that you can become the best you that you know how to be and counteract the schemes of the enemy. I believe that when God designed us, even in our mother's womb, we were like a total package.
Yeah.
But the enemy knew we were coming, and so when we arrived, he has spent our lives taking that package apart.
Yeah.
Saying, who are you to think you can? No, you're not. This is not who you are. And so that's why we needed Jesus to come and help put our package back together.
Yeah.
And so we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to hear a lot more from Dr. Hugie and just her journey into this learning about psychology, how she continued to grow and build upon that and bring it back into community to really do some great things. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
Awesome.
You have a remarkable story with an extraordinary outcome? Well, if you do, I'd love to invite you to submit that to us at itsagoodtimetobeYou@gmail.com. We would love to review it for consideration, and who knows, you might just find yourself on our show. So enjoy the rest of your day, and remember, it's a good time to be you.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for being with us today. We are with our friend, Dr. Cerissa Hugie, and she is just sharing with us her journey into the passion that she has towards mental health. And Cerissa, may I call you that?
Yeah,
okay, good
sure.
deal. What was your own path where mental health was concerned? What were some of the experiences that you had in your personal life that contributed you to take this as a career path?
You know, quite honestly, mental health has really not been a conversation. You know, growing up, I know that I was always the person that was easy to talk to.
Okay.
I was always the person that my friends would look to for advice. I was always just kind of that encouraging person.
Yeah.
And so certainly mental health fits with my personality. But I think I remember just kind of struggling on my own journey because I'd experienced a lot of things. I had a lot of independence.
Okay.
I grew up very quickly. I was homeless as a teenager. Just so many experiences that I had. But I think one thing that resonates with me the most is the death of my father.
Okay.
20 years ago, actually, in September, it was my last year of high school. And I remember, even though I knew that he had died, I found out he died the night before, I wanted to go to school the next day because I had a test.
All right.
And so there wasn't any space. I didn't allow myself any space to really grieve such a significant loss. It was all about kind of pushing through and doing what was necessary to go forward. Anyone at the time would have understood if I didn't go to school, but in my mind there was no other option.
Gotcha.
I have a test. I have, you know, this to do, and I just wonder how many of us do that, you know, when we have these pivotal deeply hurtful experiences, how many of us don't take the time to really sit with that and to really allow God to heal us? How do we sit with the discomfort and the lessons that are in that pain, or do we just move past it? Because there are things for us to do, and there are people waiting on us. And so thinking back now, I have this insight, but at the time, of course, I had no idea.
Right.
But that's a pivotal moment for me that I even share in the book.
That's beautiful. So did you take, later on in life when you had that epiphany or that revelation, did you take some time to walk back where that loss was in your life? Or how did you, end up, once you processed it, how did you end up dealing with that?
It was probably maybe 5 years after the loss when I truly came to Christ and surrendered my life to Christ. And I remember every year on the anniversary of my father's death, I would be sad. I couldn't go to class. I mean, all of these things. It was almost like I created a memorial around this grief and in this space. But I just remember accepting God as my father.
I love
it. And so when I learned that he was my father, I'm still learning that. But when I accepted that he was my father and that he loved me, I no longer cry in September.
Well, that number 5 represents grace, and so how beautiful it is that his grace is sufficient.
Absolutely.
And helps you, to have maybe those good memories and fond memories, when that date comes along, as you take time to reflect or reminisce where your natural father was concerned, and just bestowing that grace upon you and your life and your memories. How beautiful is that? So share with us then about the career path into psychology. Was it just kind of like a straight cut path, or what did that look like for you?
I wish it was a straight path. In some ways I wish it was, but quite honestly, I got my bachelor's degree in psychology, and I got a minor in African American studies. And then by the time I finished that degree, I was sort of burnt out. And so what I thought I was going to do was go straight into graduate school and get a doctorate and become a psychologist. And talking with my brother, who is, one of my heroes, he said, well, why don't you look at social work? Because you want to be a counselor. Why don't you look at social work? And so I took a year off, got a job. And then applied and got my master's in social work. And then for 5 years, Angela, 5 years, I did not get a job in social work.
Goodness.
Got my license in social work. I went on interview after interview. I couldn't even get a job at DSS, nothing.
And they're constantly in need.
Every door, foster care, nothing.
Wow.
Every single door was closed in my face. And I call it a midlife crisis, whatever, that's my funny, but I call it a midlife crisis when I turned 30 and I was already married and I did not have any children. And at the time we were serving in a prominent church, leading worship, but I was discontent, right? Because I said, Lord, surely you have more for me in my life than singing. By then I had already spent 8 years on this job in customer service with a master's degree. But it was that discontentment and that place of surrender that led me to really discover who I was.
And that was 8 years into the discontentment. And I'm so excited because the number 8 is new beginnings.
New beginnings, yes.
So God had something definitely planned for you.
He did have something, and I never thought about that.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
And a new covenant. So that's pretty cool. Well, when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to hear more to this story that led her into the path of her heart's desire and find out a little bit more what she's doing today. So don't go away. We'll be right back. As a leader, you are a broker of gifts. So whether you are a professional, a business owner, or a ministerial leader, I would love to accompany you in transforming your ordinary staff into an extraordinary team through leadership development, team building, and personal discovery. You will learn the amazing gifts, skills, and talents that each of you have and know how to bring them together in order to do great things. So reach out to me at AngelaDHenderson.com and let's begin your amazing adventure today. And remember, it's a good time to be you. Welcome back, everyone. everyone, in case you're just joining us, we have Dr. Cerissa Hugie that's with us, and she is just sharing her journey into discovering the passion that she has for the mental health community and how God has just raised her up to just be a leader in helping people heal in this very vital part of their life. And so, Dr. Hugie, we've come to the place now where God had kind of shut the doors for social work, and on our break we were discussing how his plans are far greater than ours.
Absolutely.
And I really believe that had you been able to tap into that area in community, because you have such a caring heart, you probably would have remained. But God had more things for you where you can make the greater impact.
Yes.
And it's not that you wouldn't have had a great impact there, but I think there was a greater place that he wanted to position you for a larger impact. And so now, why don't you share with us some obstacles that maybe you have faced in caring and working with those in the mental health community?
One of the things that I noticed, I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner, which means my job is a lot like a psychiatrist. Yes. I prescribe medications that help restore chemical imbalances. And one thing that I would find in working with my patients would be that they would get some level of breakthroughs. Maybe the medications would help, but they would leave my office to interact with the systems, right, that could either facilitate or sabotage their mental health. And when I talk about systems, I'm talking about micro systems like their family and their communities, or macro systems, organizations that they come in contact with, their church family, and they would come back and they would lose all of the progress because of something that happened within the systems of their lives.
Wow.
And so, becoming frustrated with that, I got the bright idea that maybe if I partner with some of these organizations and provide mental health education, then we can all meet the mental health needs of the people that we serve.
That is so amazing.
Yes.
And God, He can heal anybody instantly and immediately. We see that in His Word.
Yes.
We know that still happens even in today's society.
Absolutely.
However, God has also given man the ability to be able to create medications and things of that nature that work with the systems that He's created within us to be able to help get us on the right track and path. And I know a lot of times, maybe some of those faith-based organizations would even encourage, throw the medicine out. You don't need this, you don't need that. And again, it's not that taking them shows we have lack of faith. It actually shows that we do have faith.
Yes.
That the Lord's directed my path. This is the route I'm taking, and I believe that through this He can heal me.
Yeah, He can restore.
So that's really good. So have you noticed as you've gone into these outside systems to share the education part, has it been well received and accepted, and have you been able to partner successfully?
Absolutely.
Good.
It started with faith communities. I went to a smaller Baptist church in Hollywood, South Carolina, and my friend asked me, it was a vacation Bible school, maybe about 40 people there, and she asked me to talk about depression. And this was one of my first speaking engagements, right? So I'm shaking in my boots, and I have this note card, and really nothing prolific, just went up there and started talking about like what depression is, what are some of the warning signs, what do you do? And I opened the floor for questions.
Wow.
And in that moment, there was a little boy in the audience that started talking about the fact that he was being bullied.
Wow.
At school. And little did I know that this was the first time that he had told anybody. The first time that his mother ever heard. And it was a breakthrough moment where there were a lot of tears. And I remember at that moment saying, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, then I will do it. If this is the impact, because Jesus cared about the one.
Yes, ma'am.
If only one person hears it and gets the breakthrough, then I've done what He's asked me to do. So since then, I've gotten the opportunity to work with healthcare organizations. I've done a lot of work in the school systems. And it's really not only providing mental health support for people within those organizations, but also with the school system. How do they address the mental health needs of the children? So the Lord has expanded my territory. Now I'm working with other mental health providers, providing continuing education, working with PAs and nurse practitioners who are training and talking to them about, certain illnesses. So working in the academic space. So the Lord has really expanded my territory, as you say, and given me some wonderful opportunities.
I love it, and I really believe that you're going to even get more opportunities that are going to be provided for you. Now, what are some things that have kind of kept you grounded through all of maybe the defining moments, in this process of walking through the mental health and helping the community?
Jesus.
I love it.
Jesus. Another defining season of my life that we have not talked about, that I talk about in my book, is 12 years of infertility.
Wow.
And really, all of the lessons in my book are based on what God taught me during that time.
I love it. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have Dr. Hugie share a little bit more about what's in her book, and then also just kind of share with us some more things that you're doing in the community. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Have you ever wondered where I got the phrase, "It's a good time to be you"? Well, it wasn't because life has always been a bed of roses, but it has been rewarding. Life has many different seasons. Some are more challenging than others. And sometimes we kind of get caught or stuck in an old season when there's a new season that's waiting just ahead. I want to encourage you to untether yourself from the old season so you can move forward in the new things that are waiting for you. So check out my new book on AngelaDHenderson.com and take a journey to discover the many reasons why it's a good time to be you. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for tuning in with us today. We have Dr. Cerissa Hugie, who has just been sharing with us some wonderful information concerning our mental health. And we were, as we were going to our commercial break, you were sharing with us about your book. So please tell us a little bit more about it and where we might be able to find it.
Awesome. I'm happy to share. So my book is Cultivating and Creating Healthy Mind Spaces, 9 Strategies to Emotional Wellness and Personal Growth.
Wow. So what are some of those strategies that you write about?
So I talk a lot about emotional awareness, emotional vulnerability, and I want to backtrack a little bit because really the whole premise of the book that God revealed to me is that mental health is connected to a person's ability to fulfill their purpose.
Wow.
So it's not just about people being well, right?
Yes.
It's about them being well because they have a unique contribution to make to the world. And so when people are not well, then we're missing them.
Yes.
We're missing what God has given them to give to us.
Wow, that is amazing. And thank you so much for stewarding all of this information that the Lord downloaded inside of you and sharing it in your book that can benefit all of us, in what we're walking through to help us understand ourselves better. So this is a very powerful tool that you are providing right here for people to be able to use. So you mentioned Mind Space. So this is the name of your practice, right?
Yes, yes.
So tell us a little bit about your practice and how it might differ than maybe some of the other practices in the area.
Awesome. So Mind Space Mental Health Education and Consulting is the name of the mental health education and consulting firm that God has given me. But the next portion of that is going to be a psychiatric medication management clinic.
Okay.
God is telling me that that's the next step. I've been practicing as a psych nurse practitioner now for 4 years.
Wow.
So we're going to offer therapy. The space is going to be available to hold workshops and classes for people because obviously being a psychiatric nurse practitioner, I work on the illness side of things.
Right.
But this book is about the wellness and it's really about empowering people to assess their current season of life and determine what is necessary to facilitate my mental and emotional stability in this season and my personal growth.
I love it. I love it. And
so the whole spectrum.
Yeah, and your practice, where is it located at?
It's going to be at Carriage Lane in West Ashley. So we're going to open up in the first part of 2022. I'm super excited.
Oh, that is exciting. 2022 is going to be a great year for you. It's going to be
year,
awesome,
yeah.
very productive. I love it. The number 20 represents redemption, and 22 represents sons and daughters of light. And so I really do see, as you are stepping into this new season and this new year as a daughter of light, God's helping you to redeem the purposes for every patient that comes into your office, redeeming their purpose, redeeming who their identity, redeeming who they are and who He's designed them to be.
Absolutely.
And so they can cancel out those lies that have convinced them that they are something or somebody that they're not, you know, and that they're not less than that, but that, you know, God is something so beautiful for their lives and empower them. So what would you share with those maybe that are out there who may be struggling with their mental health, or families that are supporting those, you know, who may be struggling with mental health? How can they advocate for them?
I would say, I think the most important thing is actually getting the help that you need, right? As believers, sometimes I think we wait too long, right?
I think sometimes we're embarrassed, or it's not a subject that you just talk about a lot.
Exactly, and again, my own personal journey of, you know, being in faith spaces where people would tell me just to pray about it. Right. But we know that faith without works is dead.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So if we're praying, then God is going to give us strategies of who to go to, what to do. You know, whether that is counseling, whether that is medication, whether that's our support system. He's going to lead us. And so I think that getting the help that we need sooner rather than later.
I love it.
And don't suppress, right? You know, we must confront. It's a lifelong journey, and we must give ourselves the permission to feel whatever it is that we're going through, because in doing that, that's where the healing begins.
I love it.
That's where you take back your power, right? Because anything that's hidden, there's shame attached to that.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what the enemy wants. He wants us to live in shame. But if it's out in the open, if we confront it, if we deal with it, then he no longer has the power.
That's right. And
so
we'll
we
become
gotta
his
deal with-
worst nightmare, being healed and whole. I
you
love
know, one
it.
of the things that I tell some young ladies that I've mentored in the past, if you ever figure out who you are, not a devil in hell will be able to stop you.
Amen. I love it. I love it, Doctor. Well, when did you realize that it was a good time to be you?
Oh, man. I'm still realizing that it's a good time to be me, but I think probably in the past 5 years, I would say, that I have really, you know, God has really just removed some of the blinders from my eyes. And He's shown me myself as a little girl, hungry, on the dirt roads of Petersfield in Hollywood, South Carolina. And He has reminded me that even then, all of this was inside me.
Amen.
You know, because, you know, Ephesians, I think it's 2:10, that says it's already prepared beforehand that we should walk in them.
I love it.
And so I'm ready, you know, I'm going to walk in it. And it's just been step by step. You know, His word being a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. And we want the whole picture.
Amen.
But sometimes He's just given us the next step. And that's what it's been for me, just one step at a time. And I think we're all on the journey of peeling back the layers, unpacking the things that don't belong to us.
Yes, ma'am.
And at every season, I feel like we become more of who He's created us to be.
I love it.
And so I'm excited. You know, God has great things in store.
Yes, He does, and well said. Thank you for sharing your time with us
so
today
much for
and your
having
information.
Me. And it's on Amazon.com.
On Amazon.com. Okay, you guys, don't forget, you want to check this out. So how about at the count of 3, we let them know it's a good time to be you, okay?
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
It's a good time to be you.